a quick introduction to Nermin Jasani. She is with Highland Oak Partners. Is it Partners?
Sure. Highland Oak Group. We'll call it Partners.
Oh, Highland Oak Group. And she is fantastic. So I met her, I don't even know, like maybe a year and a half ago. She's very empowering to women. So I think it's fantastic that everybody here right now is a female entrepreneur. And she just has a way of taking complicated information and breaking it down. But her attention to detail is amazing. I've worked on several projects with her, and her execution on all projects is wonderful. And so she transitioned from being an attorney to a business coach / consultant. And everyone I know who knows her loves her dearly. She's a great networker, and I can't say enough good things about her. So
I paid Cherish to say all these things.
No. And so I think the takeaway today is, since it is going to be a small group, just to, listen, learn, be open. And then I know that she has a couple of exciting things coming up, including e-courses that you may be interested in. And then, the hope is that I'm going to take this recording and also put it in my newsletter as well, too, so that other people who are interested in your services can learn about them, and it'll be available to them. So take it away. Oh, and then, June, if you want to jump in. June is my co-host for this.
Well, we typically, Cherish and I typically do these lunches in my office. And so it was nice to see Madeline pop up on the screen today, because I realized how long it's been since I've seen her. And, I think these Zoom calls, really, they're great because they do keep us connected. I do miss the interaction with people, but I did want to say, because of COVID, I met Nermin once, and it was really just on the phone. And I felt like I've known her forever. She just comes across so wonderfully. And of course, you all know Cherish. Anyone that's a friend of Cherish's is going to be awesome. So I work with a lot of law firms here at Southern First Bank. It's one of my specialties. Most of my client base is lawyers and law firms. So I am very interested to hear what Nermin has to say today, because I know I have a lot of people that would benefit from talking to her. So thank you.
Thank you. That was really nice. I know before everyone else got on the call, Cherish and I were wondering, since this is a smaller group, if we could get everyone to introduce themselves, maybe say a little bit about the area of law they practice and how long you've been in practice, just sort of anything you would like to say about yourself. There's two of you, so who wants to go first?
I'll go first. So I'm Marla Roser. I originally was admitted to practice in California in '99 and worked in securities regulation for a long time, and then in wealth management. And in the last couple of years, and then I moved to Maryland. I was barred in California, moved to Maryland, worked for the federal government. And then in the last couple of years, I just felt like I needed a transition away from advising big companies and the people that work for them, and wanted to manage my own law firm. And estate planning is a cousin to wealth management, and it allows me to work directly with end clients, which I find to be so much more rewarding than offering advice to organizations, and those representing organizations. So anyway, I started about almost 2 years ago, a little less than 2 years ago. And so I'm just really working on building my practice, building my knowledge base, figuring out marketing and networking, and just taking it day by day.
Perfect. Congratulations, Marla, on making that jump.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. I'm sure like Potomac is probably a good area for that practice area. I'm Madeline Pavon-Suriel. You've heard my name a couple times. I am a solo practitioner in Atlanta. I practice criminal defense, personal injury, and I'm coming up on my 10-year anniversary in December, so I'm excited about that. Yay. I'm thinking of like, what's my anniversary gift going to be to myself? You know, diamond solitaires. What are we doing? What are we doing? Right. I want it to be something that, you know, is really kind of timeless. So anyway, I have been, you know, doing all sorts of things, tons of court work. I've worked for a firm. I've done contract work. But this year, 2020, actually, the beginning of it, I was just like, okay, I'm not doing any outside gigs, any contracts. I'm just going full speed ahead with my practice. And it's been really great. You know, that's crazy to say about 2020 because of everything, but it's been, you know, I mean, we're plugging along, you know, quarantining it out.
I love it, Madeline. Congratulations on 10 years. That is such a
Thank
huge
you.
Yeah.
accomplishment. And I definitely think diamonds have to be involved in whatever gift you get yourself. There's no question about it. Wonderful. Okay, so let's get right into the presentation. I'm going to go ahead and share screen with you guys. Once we're done with the presentation, we can do rounds of questions. If you guys have any questions, especially if they're specific to your practice, throw them out. I'm here for you to be a resource for you. And this can really just be conversational. It doesn't need to be so strict and enforced. So let's get right into it. So today, as promised, we are going to be talking about what it takes to have a wildly successful law practice during the coronavirus. So just to sort of talk about a little bit about what is going on right now. So since COVID happened, you know, when everything first started to shut down back in March, there was so much uncertainty out there. There was a lot of fear, a lot of false information, a lot of, you know, sort of doomsday panicking, you know, freaking out, things shutting down. And what's interesting is it's all sort of come back around again. So, you know, last week's, I think, COVID numbers were 69,000 in the US. You know, people are really getting worried about what's going to happen again. Courts are starting to readjust, reevaluate reopening. I know, especially in New York City, you know, some of them have reopened and they may shut back down again. And so there's just so much going on right now that, you know, you don't really have a whole lot of control over. And, you know, there's really not much that you can actually do at this point, except what I do want you to do, especially as solo practicing attorneys, especially as female solo practicing attorneys, is that I want you to focus on the facts and not the fear. So here are some facts. Business is still going, right? There are businesses that we are seeing right now in the news every day where they are, you know, selling more, businesses doing better than ever. Zoom is one such example, right? What happened to their stock price during this time? Peloton is another such example. You know, everyone went crazy and started buying Pelotons because gyms were closed. So you're seeing sort of all of this activity happening, and, you know, business is still going, you know, courts are still open. It's just they've transitioned. You know, law has always sort of been something that is sort of stagnant, slow to move. And then all of a sudden judges were on phone calls, you know, having hearings, and they were in Zoom, and depositions are going on over Zoom. So, you know, everything is still going. So when you really do take the time to focus on the facts instead of the fear of, oh my God, what's going to happen? Where's my next client going to come from? Where's the next money going to come from? That's going to put you in a tizzy and in a state of stress that's just unnecessary. So focus on the facts of, you know, what's really going on right now. And, you know, here we are over Zoom, right? Meetings are taking place from your computer. We've all gone remote, and it's really just a really great time to be a lawyer right now. And so really just keep focusing on the facts and not the fear. Now, along with this is a reality of what's going to happen. So as you've probably already experienced, maybe personally, there are some areas of law that will be negatively impacted and some areas of law that will be positively impacted. So depending on the kind of area, the kind of law that you're practicing right now, you might be feeling sort of the waves of what's going on, maybe more than others are. So, you know, I'll give you some examples. I have some bankruptcy clients, and, you know, we all know that bankruptcies are going to come, but last month, the statistics came out, and North Carolina had the lowest amount of bankruptcy filings in a decade or something like that, since, the last recession. And, these bankruptcy attorneys are like, wait, what's going on? When is the wave going to hit? And when do we need to sort of be ready for this to happen? And the reality is that you want to take this time right now when it's not busy for you. If you have been impacted in that way and you're not busy right now, take that time right now to do everything that you need to do to get ready for the wave. We all know that the bankruptcy filings are going to happen. We just don't know when they're going to start, right? And then, there's business attorneys who I know have been busier than ever right now. They are working with their clients to buy out their competitors. They are working with their clients to acquire other businesses. There are some areas of law, some business attorneys that are busier than ever. And, Marla and Cherish, I'm sure you've experienced this right now, but you're both estate planning attorneys, and you have seen how COVID has really affected people and really made them think about, oh my God, if somebody gets COVID in the family, we got to make sure that there's a will in place, that we don't have to go to probate, all these sort of fears that are resulting in these actions that may not have happened up until now. So it's just a really interesting time to be an attorney. And the reality is that there will be some attorney areas, some practice areas that do really well during this time. And there will be others that don't do so well, but it's all in waves, right? And that's just what you need to keep in mind. Like, these are the facts of business, period. And if you happen to be in a downturn part, don't worry, because it's all going to come back around, because that's just how things go, especially when you have your own practice. So I'm going to go through some things that you should absolutely be doing right now, no matter what kind of law you are actually practicing. So the first thing, the most important thing, is reach out to your clients, past clients and newer clients right now. So like when we get off this call, start reaching out to your past clients. Now, when I say past clients, that means clients from, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, a year ago, 6 months ago. There's no time limit on, how old the past client needs to be for you to reach out to them. Make it a conversation. Don't make it so stressful for yourself. Make it into a, hey, I'm just checking to see how you're doing. I know you love to garden. How are your tomatoes this year? Just sort of keep it conversational. And you can always, wrap that call up with, well, I so enjoyed working with you. And, if there's anyone that I can support, your family or your friends during this time, please let me know. I'm happy to help them. Here's what I can do, just like I did for you. The asterisk, the caveat to reaching out to the past clients is, don't reach out to the past clients who didn't pay you, who you got into verbal arguments with, who, were just completely unpleasant and made you miserable, right? Talk to the ones who paid you on time. Talk to the ones who, generally enjoyed working with you. And that pool of clients might end up taking, it might end up being 15 people. It might end up being 50 people. It might not be your entire client roster, and that's totally okay. Just make sure that you are taking the time to go through your past clients and just call them up and check in with them and see how they're doing. I say phone call over email because emails get lost so often, especially right now. It's almost holiday season. So guess what? All the retailers are getting ready to bombard your inbox. So you don't want your kind email to then get, thrown in with all of that and never opened. So pick up the phone and call your past clients and check in on them and see how they're doing. By the way, that's free. It costs you nothing to do that except for maybe 10 minutes out of your day. So make sure that you're doing that. The next thing here is you want to make sure that you are doing some basic accounting. So go through and see which of your clients owe you money right now. Maybe you process your billing once a month. Maybe you want to do it bi-weekly right now to help your own cash flow, right? And if you have clients who you've done work for, but you personally know that, maybe they're going through a divorce and they just got laid off, like this is not the ideal time to be pestering them about, unpaid bills. I can understand that that's a little bit of a touchy situation to be in. However, you didn't become a lawyer and start your own business to do free lawyering, right? You became a lawyer because you wanted to have your own practice, you wanted to make money. And there is a way that you can sort of talk to your clients about this. You can create a template email that's very kind and that says, hey, I totally understand you're in this very difficult situation. There is this money that's due, let's say $5,000. Would you feel comfortable, putting it on a card in 5 payments? Or would you feel comfortable, having, an extended payment plan? Whatever that is, don't let the unpaid money sit there unpaid without some sort of plan in place. So take the time, find what works for your clients, come to an agreement, but don't just ignore it. I know a lot of attorneys just ignore uncollected invoices and just leave their balance sheet with, a large amount just sitting there because they feel so nervous to have that conversation. You can have that conversation via email. It's totally okay to do that. The next thing that we're going to do here is we're going to talk about doing all the things that you never did because you were busy. So we were all busy before COVID, right? Like we were going to restaurants, we were, attending social gatherings. This would have been an in-person lunch, right? And they were all the things that made us busy. So I absolutely want you to, focus on doing the things that you were too busy to do before, but you actually have the time to do right now. So definitely focus on the task that you were like, I'm not going to post on LinkedIn. I'm too busy to post on LinkedIn, or I'm not going to send a newsletter. I don't have time to send a newsletter. I'm not going to call my past clients because, I'm just too busy. I mean, those are 3 things that are all free, that don't cost you any money to do, and things that you can do right now. And you really can't get away with the excuse of I'm busy right now. So definitely keep that in mind. The next thing here is make sure that your employees are taken care of. So maybe you had support staff that you had to let go, unfortunately, during this time. Maybe you had junior attorneys that are now working part-time. Whatever the situation is, just please, if you have to let your people go, do it in such a manner that it is kind to them. Just to give you guys a heads up of what's going on right now, Disney is getting ready to let go of 16,000 employees. And we noticed that they didn't let them go early in March. They're letting them go right now in October. And they've actually hired consulting companies to bring on coaches to help them transition into whatever their next job is going to be. I'm not saying you need to be at Disney. I'm not saying you need to bring on a consultant to help your employees transition. But what I am saying is that, it's important that you take care of them, and maybe you connect that, employee with another law firm that's looking for some part-time work. Maybe you send them articles on, a new area of, something that they were interested in, maybe marketing or something, and maybe it helps them, sort of find something, whatever that's next for them. So it's really just important to keep in mind that you're not the only one who's being affected by the coronavirus. Your employees are as well, and it's still important for you to take care of them. The next thing here, leverage technology solutions, use video conferencing, conduct webinars. Please don't be shy. I know a lot of attorneys who are like, oh my God, I can't get in front of a camera. I don't look good. I haven't gotten my hair done in forever. There's all sorts of excuses on not wanting to interact using these new technology solutions. And I think that, limiting yourself in that way is not going to allow you to really grow during this time. So really, it doesn't have to be perfect. We've all done weird things on Zoom. I've seen people, get this close to this screen and say, can you hear me? And all sorts of things. So, it doesn't have to be so serious. So just remember, just use the technology, put yourself out there. You've got a voice as a solo practicing attorney that I'm sure someone is really excited to hear. And you just want to make sure that you're using all the solutions that you can to market yourself. And again, they're all free solutions, so cost you nothing. The last thing here is you want to keep networking. So whatever form of networking feels comfortable for you. And I'm also going to add this in. A lot of people have done only Zoom calls since this whole Zoom thing has started. You can still pick up the phone and call people and network with them. That's perfectly okay. June and I's call, June called me while I went for a walk in the park, and we were totally okay not having a conversation over Zoom. So you can still keep networking without Zoom. You can, use phone calls. Another thing that I do personally is I meet people for a walk in the park. We've got our masks on, we are 6 feet apart, and it's just nice to have that sort of in-person interaction. Again, do whatever you are comfortable with, but whatever you do, just don't stop networking during this time. Okay, and let's keep rolling. So if your business has stopped, if pre-COVID you were bringing in $10,000 a month to your law practice and now you're at 2 or 3 or just something less than where you were before, there's a couple of things that you can do right now. So the first is reach out to colleagues whose business has been positively impacted during this time. We all know attorneys who have come to us and said, I've never been busier. Wow, I don't have time to keep up with all of my clients. We know those attorneys. And it's okay if you're not one of those attorneys, but also don't be afraid to assist those attorneys, because at the end of the day, you've still got a mortgage to pay, maybe some student loans to still pay off. Whatever your financial situation is, you still have those obligations. They haven't stopped. And if your business has taken a little bit of a hit, feel free to ask those attorneys to see if you can come on and help them out with some help them out with their caseload, be co-counsel, whatever that is. Just offer to assist and put whatever pride it is that you have away, and just know that this is just an opportunity for you to move forward even during this time. The next thing here is you want to make sure that you are continuing to learn. So if there was a master class that you wanted to take on cooking the perfect omelet, this is a really great time to do that. If you wanted to learn more about advertising and SEO for law firms, you can check out tons of free YouTube videos on that. I've got an e-course called Wildly Successful Law Firm that actually shows you how to run a law practice. All the things that you didn't learn in law school about how to have a business. Yeah, we talk about that. So this is a really great time to learn and to keep learning during this time. And then the last thing is you want to evaluate. So look at where your law practice is right now. Was it your ideal law practice before the coronavirus? And if not, then this might be a really good time for a transition. So if you close your eyes and you think about the law practice you've always dreamed of, is it just you, or is it you plus 4 people? Is it, you practicing, a specific area of law that you're not currently practicing? Whatever that is, take the time right now to evaluate and then create the steps to bring your law practice to look like what you actually want it to look like, because it doesn't make sense for you to spend day in, day out doing something that you're not absolutely enjoying doing. So it's really a good time to pause and just ask yourself these questions right now. All right, and here's a reminder. The world has not ended. You are still alive. Be thankful for all the good things in your life, even if it is just stable internet, or a computer that doesn't malfunction, or a TV that works, whatever that is. Just remember to be thankful for all of those things. And here are a list of tools that you can use to help you with your remote work. Loom is absolutely fantastic. It is one of the tools that I use on the regular. I see attorneys draft the same email 100 times over, and I think that Loom is just a much better tool. If you record on Loom, here are the steps for the deposition. Here's what you need to know. We've just filed a complaint for divorce. Here's the next step. If you record that video just once for all of your clients, you can reuse that video multiple times, and you have saved yourself that same conversation 100 times. And also, your clients have it as a video, which means they get to watch it on demand whenever it's convenient for them, and they can repeat everything back in that video and then take any notes that they need to take without having to bother you or your staff unnecessarily multiple times about the same sort of thing. So that wraps us up. This is my personal contact information. If you have any questions, I'm always going to be available to help you. I want you to use me as a resource. My email is nermin@wildlysuccessfullawfirm.com. And that takes us through the end of that. And as promised, questions and answers. So any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Cherish.
So like in terms of like you were talking about before before we actually jumped onto the presentation, utilizing like Facebook ads and, you know, since everybody's online, what do you feel is the best, and how do you know that that's like a good investment? You know, just because a lot of attorneys that I know aren't necessarily comfortable in that space. So, you know, investing huge amounts of money or even just starting a little bit. Like I've never even touched a Facebook ad or anything. So how do I know that that's a good, tangible way to use whatever resources I have?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So there isn't a sort of correct answer to that, but just generally speaking, when it comes to Facebook ads and whether or not attorneys should play in that space, you know, there's Facebook, there's Google ads, there's YouTube ads. It really just depends on what your personal budget is and what your personal risk preference is. So you can do Facebook nice and slow at $5 a day and just have ads going at $5 a day to see what the results are. The great thing about Facebook is that it tracks everything for you. So, you know, if somebody clicked on your ad and then went to your website, it's all tracked in Facebook. So you can go back and say, okay, I spent $15 and I got one phone call, and that one phone call became a client. That's usually not how it goes. It's very convenient numbers, but just for the sake of example, that's sort of how Facebook can go. Now, if you happen to be someone who has a really great speaking voice and you have no problem being on YouTube, then definitely consider doing YouTube ads. And even if you don't do an ad, just do YouTube videos, right? Just throw your voice out there and say, hey, you know, if you need an estate plan done and your parents are in their 60s, here's what we recommend, you know, and just do 3 quick little bullet points, almost like you're doing a consultation to someone, but you're not speaking to someone specifically. You're not saying Matt or Sam, you're just saying it generally. And that way, you know, people start to associate you and your voice with experts. They're going to pick up the phone and call you over just another attorney whose name happened to pop up before yours did. So, you know, when it comes to advertising, just make sure that it's within your realm of your budget. But the most important thing before advertising is you want to make sure that you're talking to the right audience. So if your audience is, let's say you're going for teenagers who are maybe going to get into car accidents, right? You're not going to do those ads on Facebook because the data shows that teenagers aren't even on Facebook, right? You would then direct your ads to TikTok, possibly, maybe even Snapchat, right? So you just want to be mindful of who your clientele is that you're trying to talk to and literally looking at where they hang out. If they don't hang out on Facebook, don't even put $5 into Facebook to test it, because there are no teenagers on Facebook anymore, right? So those are just some of the things that you want to keep in mind. Now, for the estate planning attorneys, you know, there are a lot of people in the 50s and 60s age range who do hang out on Facebook. Why? Because they post photos of their grandkids, they're looking at photos of their grandkids. That is still an appropriate platform to appeal to them. So if you wanted to appeal to creating wills for people in that age range, you can absolutely use Facebook to do that. You can post an ad, you can say that your wills start at $7.99, $9.99, $15.99, whatever that number is, and then see what happens from there. See how many people click through, see how many people, you know, pick up the phone and call you.
Great advice. Thank you.
Of course.
But this is kind of a silly question, but like, where do you find that information where different age groups, you know, I mean, did you just Google it or?
I mean, I know only because I read that kind of information on a daily basis, but if you are looking for that information, all you have to do is just, Google it, say, you know, what is the typical age range audience for Twitter, Pinterest, et cetera, and just ask it for like a breakdown depending on that social media, the platform, and just say typical audience for fill in the blank. And, you know, Google's great. It'll spit all that information right back to you so that you know if you're going to be, you know, wasting your money or using your money effectively. You know, the important thing I'll say here is, you know, in the presentation and just in general, what I say to all attorneys is you don't need to spend money to make money as a lawyer who has your own practice. I think that for some reason, these SEO experts and website builders and pay-per-click people have really made it seem like you need to do those things before you can make $1 million. And the truth is that lawyers were making $1 million before SEO and before pay-per-click. It is not the only way to have a successful law practice. It is one of the ways, and you can always go back to old school ways of networking. Pick up the phone and call your past clients. Pick up the phone and call your friends. See if there's someone that you can help. I mean, it's really just incredible what you can do for free. Start a LinkedIn group, right? Like that's free. Start a Facebook group, that's free. You know, there's so many free outlets out there that you don't need to spend the money, the $5,000, $10,000, whatever it is, to have that law practice that has clients coming in. All you need to do is really just go through your list of your past clients and pick up the phone and call them.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, wait, so as a follow-up to that question,
Yeah.
I have been using Facebook to kind of boost posts, and I'm not that familiar with, like, if there's the same thing on LinkedIn. I'm pretty much just relying on my LinkedIn network. But I'm not really seeing that I'm getting clients from that yet, but I don't know how long to keep going before I give up. And in that I'm starting a new practice. I'm trying to figure out, I don't have a lot of clients already that I've already had, so I can reach out to them, but like, you know, how do I keep going?
So what I would say is if you've got a newer practice and you are starting with Facebook posts and boosting on Facebook posts, I would not recommend that. That's my personal opinion. I would say you are better off posting on LinkedIn through your own network. Post twice a week, post relevant content, post things about, like, personal stories are really great. So if you can say, you know, the woman who lives down the street from me, you know, passed away without a will, and, you know, it was a mess and the kids were arguing, and, you know, don't be in this kind of a situation. Or you can take the opposite and have like a happy story of, you know, something that you saw in the news that you were like, okay, you look great. There's a will in place, you know, the kids are protected, you know, there's a trust, et cetera, et cetera. You can absolutely have that kind of a story as well. So what you want to do is any platform that you're engaging on, try not to use like stock photos, try to use like, you know, more real photos. You can go to unsplash.com and pexels.com, PEXELS.com. And they've got really good non-stock image photos that just look warmer. And you really want to sort of have a more one-on-one approach, especially as you're starting out, rather than a sort of large scale advertising approach, like paid advertising approach. And so maybe what you can also do, Marla, is like create a list of like professional contacts that you have, and then email them one-on-one, let them know, hey, by the way, I have my own practice now. I don't know if you knew or not, but here's what I do and here's how I can help. And, you know, I'm so excited to, you know, work with you, et cetera, et cetera. The other thing that you can do is you can call them. If you have that kind of a relationship with them, pick up the phone and call them and have a conversation with them, just like we are right now over Zoom, right? You will be surprised how many more clients you would get from something like that versus paid advertising. And then the other thing I'll say is a lot of groups right now, networking groups, BNI, PowerCore, they've all gone virtual. So even if you're not near one, you can still be virtual in one for at least the next 3 to 6 months. and that can definitely help generate revenue. Also look for like local networking chapters in your own city. So, this is one group. There's Women Who Lunch, there's Pro Win. There's so many groups out there that, and usually the first meeting is free for most of these groups. So feel free to join any of them. Find the one that you feel most connected to and be part of that, right? So I always say, try to do the free stuff first. And then once you've exhausted the free stuff, then you can use the paid stuff, because the paid stuff is really intended to be gasoline on a fire, right? But if you don't have a fire yet, then you're just pouring gasoline, and that's just not going to go anywhere, right? You're just going to sit and be hopeful, like, please let this result in something. But really what you're going to need is fire going first. So reach out to your own network, reach out to the people that start from there, join some local networking groups. They're all virtual right now. I've been on networking calls with people in New York and Boston. So there's so much that you can do right now because of Zoom, because of technology, because everyone has shifted to being open to using these platforms rather than, oh, I must meet you for a 1.5 hour long lunch on the other side of town. Like, that doesn't happen anymore. And so you can save your time and call everyone from your California days. Maybe they know somebody who's out here in Maryland who needs your support. That probably will happen. And you've got a surprisingly deep network than what you might probably think that you have. And so feel free to reach out to anyone else that you worked with from your government days and just let them know who you are and what you can do right now.
Thank you. That's super helpful.
Sure. June, I know you had a question there somewhere.
No, I was going to comment. It was more of a comment, but we, before COVID, we didn't have, we had a little bit of a social media presence as a bank, but not a big one. And we hired a young marketing director, and she has done so much, Facebook posting and Instagram and LinkedIn. And they're sometimes just a personal story about somebody at work that has done something, or a volunteer project, or one of our products that has really helped somebody. They're all very different, but I have gotten so much feedback on those. And she's doing them kind of like you were describing, with regularity, like, a couple times a week, she's putting something out there. So you're always seeing me, because then I share it. So, that's easy for me because somebody's doing it for me, but I do see the impact on the other side.
Yeah, and everything June mentioned, by the way, is free. So you can post on Facebook for free. You can post on Instagram for free. You can post on LinkedIn for free. I'm going to keep saying that, free, because I think it's so important for attorneys to get that. You don't need some fancy campaign. You don't need billboards. You don't need a jingle. You don't need a TV. You don't need any of that stuff, right? Like, you just be you. You tell people how you can help people, and they will flock to you because they love what you're saying. They love you just being you, because you became a lawyer essentially to help people, and people love people who want to help other people. So, but that doesn't mean free lawyering. That just means helping people,
right,
and for free.
Right.
I don't have any questions, but I do have like 2.5 pages of notes. So I really appreciate the time and the knowledge that you've given us today. It's been priceless. I love all of it.
Well, thank you for that. I do appreciate that. And if something does come up, feel free to send me an email and reach out. The last thing I'll sort of say is attorneys tend to underprice themselves because they get very stuck on the hourly rate model. And I definitely want you to sort of think about your pricing as sort of a value add for the service that you're providing to your clients. So, what I like to say is there is an emotional value associated with what you do for your clients. For the estate planning attorneys, you are providing safety, you are providing comfort, you're providing peace of mind. So when you say your price, say I charge, $3,000 for a trust document because I'm providing you, a guarantee that if something should happen to you, your children are going to be protected no matter what. You don't need to negotiate against yourself on your own prices. So if you put out a number, don't then say, $3,000 is what I charge, but today you're lucky, I'm going to charge $2,500. Oh, but by the way, you can make that in 4 installment payments. Oh, and I'll take a credit card too, and I'll eat the processing fees. Like, don't be one of those attorneys. Be confident in your prices and be confident in what you're asking, and know that you're asking a dollar amount, but that dollar amount represents something for your clients, right? That means that they are getting peace of mind. They know that they can sleep safely at night without having to wake up thinking, oh my God, what will happen to my children when I'm gone? Or, I got into a car accident and I may never be able to walk again. And, what's going to happen to my children, right? Like, you want to associate your pricing with that sort of calm that you're giving your clients, rather than, will I charge, $350 an hour because a guy across the street charges $400? Like, you just don't want to be one of those attorneys.
Thank you so much. I think that really resonates with a lot of us in terms of us being women, and then also just having the confidence to ask that and see the value and the perspective. Because I think that can be, from what I've experienced with a lot of other female entrepreneurs, but that is an issue, knowing your value and conveying it. But this has been wonderful as well too.
I want to say one more thing, if I may, too. I loved the thread of staying connected, right? So I love that you took a walk with somebody, because I'm still struggling. I work in a bank where customers come in here, but it's not the same. It's not as many. And I still have a lot of people who don't want to see me. So it's, yes, you can make that phone call, and you should, or send that email, and you should, but thinking outside the box and going for a walk, that's awesome. And, Cherish and I have tried to do a couple things where we were kind of thinking outside the box to be connected, and people want to be connected. And so if you can think of ways like that, to get a little exercise, but also get a good conversation in with somebody and be COVID compliant, I think that's great.
Yeah, and that's so great that you mentioned that again, June, because, the purpose is not to sort of be like, your friends and family should hire me, right? The purpose is to build the relationship, because your clients are going to come from relationships. It's not going to come because you said the right words during that one walk, right? It's really just going to be, hey, I like this person, and she happens to be an estate planning attorney. She happens to be a personal injury attorney. Like, that's what really happens. And people will like you for your personality, not so much for your skill set, because you're all skilled, right? Like, you can all write an estate plan. You can all, defend in a court of law. So, we all went to law school. So, it's not so much the skills that people are buying. They're buying, your personality, your kindness, your availability, your communication skills. And if you can express that during a walk, I mean, that's a very successful walk, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that too. And then I wanted to say on the pricing, I think I really learned that lesson in 2020 of knowing my value and asking for it and being firm about it. And I think that's why it has been a successful period, because I'm not like doubting myself, like, oh, should I charge this much or that much? I kind of think about it. And, the God's honest truth is, I mean, we never get paid enough, honestly. Like, these people could not pay me enough for me to say, like, all of my time is compensated, right? But yeah, I mean, there's real value. And I think it's really empowering as a woman. And it feels great to be able to say, this is how much it's going to cost you to hire me, and to have people pay it, and I'm always like so flattered, but yeah, I don't flounder in that. And I think that's really a really important key in business today, is to know your worth and ask for it, and people will gladly pay for it.
Yeah. There's that joke that's like, whatever your rate is, charge that. multiply that by 20% and then add tax.
Yeah.
So, you know, just a heads up, if you think you're charging the right amount, go ahead and add some more into it, because then you'll get closer to actually compensating you for your skills and your experience and your time and all that good stuff.
Absolutely. So thank you again.
Of course.
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful. Well, if you all do have any other questions, you've got my email address and you can email me at any time and I'm always available.
Yeah, thank you, Nermin. We really appreciate it. And then as a follow-up, we'll just send everybody the information. If you can give me the link for the Wildly Successful law firm,
Okay.
then we can share with everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for attending.
Enjoy your Monday. No
Bye.
Monday. Scary.
Thanks. Everybody have a great week.
Yeah.
You too.
And then please connect with one another. Bye.
Yes, please do.
Bye.
Doorbell.